Are we ready to start, Madam Chair?
Yes. Okay, so we're ready to start today's meeting, August 22nd. We are starting the meeting at 7:13. Madam Clerk, please call roll.
Mr. Calvo is absent. Ms. Casal Munoz. Ms. Garcia Robes.
Present.
Ms. Perez is absent. Mr. Rodriguez is absent. Mr. Tumidor.
Present.
Mr. Zagwi.
Present.
Madam Vice President, you have enough members to conduct business.
Okay, so we already did the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance in the previous meeting. Moving on to meeting guidelines.
The following guidelines have been established by the City Council. All lobbyists must register with the city clerk. As a courtesy to others, please refrain from using cellular telephones or other similar electronic devices in the council chamber. A maximum of 3 speakers in favor and 3 speakers in opposition will be allowed to address the council on any one item. Each speaker's comments will be limited to 3 minutes. No signs or placards in support of or in opposition to an item or speaker shall be permitted within the council chamber. Any person, whether participating via the web platform, telephonic conferencing, or physical presence at City Hall, interested in making comments or posing questions on matters of public concern or on any item on the agenda may do so during the meeting. Members of the public may address the city council on any item pertaining to city business during the comments and questions portion of the meeting. A member of the public is limited to 1 appearance before the city council, and the speaker's comments will be limited to 3 minutes. The public can view public meetings on the city's YouTube page. Members of the public may hear the meeting live through telephonic conferencing using any telephone or cellular phone service. A smart device or computer are not necessary to participate in the meeting if you join by phone. All persons participating via the web platform will be muted during the meeting until called upon to be heard. Participation through Zoom requires a computer or smart mobile device with a microphone and web camera. The participant may elect to participate in the meeting using audio only or appear through both audio and video. The video function of all participants appearing through video will be turned off until called upon to be heard.
Okay, moving on to presentations.
Mayor Bobo and the Hialeah City Council present a proclamation to David Ana Sagasti, artist, for his accomplishments with the Geographies of Trash art project.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'm going to ask you to join me for a second, but just briefly, we always like to acknowledge Hialeah talent and however that talent manifests itself. Now, I'll be the first one to admit that I probably don't have an appreciation of art. I can't draw, and but it doesn't mean that I can't appreciate talent when I see it. And David, who goes by another name, of which it's a family show, so I'm not able to say it. I don't know, but
Say it.
say it. Anyways, a sniff glue, that's the only thing there. The rest of it seems garbled. But anyways, we appreciate the talent. And in this case, it's taking trash, right? Taking trash and turning it into art. And turning it into art that can be appreciated. Now, my understanding is that was it today that they unveiled something in downtown Miami?
I mean, you got stuff going on like
All over the place.
They're going like nonstop. I rode a bike today. I finished trash. The community is active. They pull up all the time. So a story came out on NBC6 yesterday.
Nice.
The week before. So we're staying active nonstop, and our work is getting trash off the streets and democratizing the art collecting process and making everyone a collector.
You can come up to the mic.
Wait, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's go down there. Let's honor him the way we're supposed to honor him.
Yeah.
And then he could go.
Just for the record.
Yes, well, he's gonna have a chance to speak and then we'll give him a chance to, it should be noted, he's part of the Radcliffe Art and Design Incubator at FIU. All right, go Panthers, Paul's up, good stuff. And so let's go down there and make the presentation.
Mayor, I think we have a representative from FIU as well. Chris Kentens.
Little story, his mother used to cross the street, used to grab me by the hand and cross the street. Yeah, much older than that. Don't tell her that.
This was the one what?
So we're on a mission to get a conservation. Do that, not talk trash, but whatever.
Well, yeah, talk about that. Talk about that.
It's a good business, the nice one, but look at it, we appreciate like one time they looked out for us and they found it. You guys are the third one, so we're keeping it popping every day, so I feel that the other cities are popping. And they actually catch up. You got higher lead at the end, right? You already go, dude. Right. Super efficient.
Another second.
You got.
Sorry, I wanted to take a picture, but I'm
We asked.
Like our money and we do like the actual physical stuff, they end up living in the Radcliffe incubator. So we have all like accolades and everything, like they're kind of like a recording studio, trying to turn it into a proclamation museum. Dude. Oh, that's good. Thanks. Yeah, it's not like the moderators, they play a heavy role, like there's things in the run itself, so like, they're all, everybody plays a role on stuff. Same with you guys, I'm making it normal to be on trash.
Are we out of it?
Oh, yeah, my bad. Yeah,
So.
well, I repeat today, other day, I thought it was.
Wow.
Well, yeah, but we- Yeah, kind of, where are the sandwiches?
Don't leave that here.
Why not leave that here? I don't have a sandwich.
Took it back. We're taking it back.
Oh, yeah. All right, hold out.
Thank you, Frank.
It's 11.
Thank you. You grew up right by the truck? Off,
Yeah.
Bowman
Cool.
25th.
Nice, nice, good stuff.
Okay, so we're gonna be jumping forward for a second to item 11D from administrative items, and then we'll go right back to the beginning. No, we're going back to that.
Whatever you want, Frank.
Item 11D pursuant to section 4.03 of the city's charter, Mayor Esteban Bowo Jr. appoints Rafael Suarez Rivas to the position of city attorney.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before I allow him to speak, and then after that, he'll do all the speaking he wants, I guess. But we didn't really get a chance to, I think, say goodbye properly to Lorena, because it happened during the time that we were going on our sabbatical, right? And I did want to mention, Lorena obviously was here before I got here. She had a long history with the city of Hialeah. And I think a lot of the work she did was very good, and many of us relied heavily on her. When she decided to leave, it was bittersweet, in the sense, sweet because she's going to be able to do other things that she wanted to pursue. The bitter part was for us, having to find somebody that could fill her shoes. But I think we're blessed, and we're blessed because we were able to find someone that has extensive knowledge. That's not calling him old or anything like that, just extensive, well, maybe it is calling him, well, I don't know, but anyways. Extensive knowledge, and it was, I think, extremely important that we have somebody that could hit the ground running. And he has one mission, other than obviously guide us legally, but help with the creation of a law department that we could all be proud of, and work with the talent that's there now and continue to build upon that. I wanted, with a mission of maybe not having to farm out so much work, to keep things in-house as best we can, but that requires patience and it requires talent and training. So I think we have a good shepherd of our law department. I want to introduce them all to you. You all have a resume from him. And so with that, we introduce Rafael Suarez Rivas, our new city attorney.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your kind words, Major Bogo. I appreciate that. Council Vice President, Garcia Robles, council members, Casas Munoz, Tunidor and Zogby, and the others. I'm very pleased to be here, and I'm very humbled by the appointment by Mayor Bovo to this important position. I respectfully request your consideration and approval. I have practiced local government law most of my career since the 1980s, to speak of age. And I am board certified in local government law. I have been for over 25 years. I've worked in large, small, and medium-sized local government law departments in-house. And I have served as an assistant city attorney, a supervising assistant city attorney, an assistant county attorney, and a city attorney in the past. I want to do the very best I can for this great city and for the community. And if confirmed, I will do my very best. I will continue the traditions of the law department, yet hopefully with the administration, work to perhaps bring some other thoughts to the table about some efficiencies, innovations, and concepts and things to make the office even more responsive. I look forward to being of service, and I thank you for your consideration.
Okay, so do we have a motion?
Motion.
So we have a motion
Second.
by Councilmember Casas Munoz, and we have a second by Councilmember Zogby. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Garcia Robes?
Yes.
Mr. Tunidor?
Yes.
Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Ms. Casa Munoz?
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Through the chair, one thing, Rafael, I noticed here in your resume that you worked for a man called Manolo Reyes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I work for Commissioner Reyes as the title was Chief Legislative and Policy Advisor, though really I was it in terms of that. And he's a very active commissioner with his district and with events, very fine commissioner in my view. I work mostly on agenda items and legislation that interested him, and
Yeah.
was of importance to him.
Yeah, I tell you that's probably got to be the best things that's ever happened in the city of Miami. So if you come from his office, then I think you'll be okay here. All right.
Thank you. Thank you very
Absolutely.
much. It's very kind.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to comments and questions. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Going back to the beginning. Do we have anyone with comments and questions?
I'm losing a little touch.
It's okay. Name and address for the record.
Jose Alvi, 788 Southeast Park Drive. Congratulations, Ms. Garcia Robes.
Thank you.
I'm here to speak first on the ordinance, the first administrative item 11A. The swap of land. I live like a block and a half from here. This is part of Three Friends Park, and they value this land as R1. And tomorrow they're gonna bring this to planning and zoning, and they're gonna rezone this land to commercial. I just hope you look into this. This is gonna be a future site for CVS/Navarro or Laguna and Okeechobee. And the bigger picture is I hope there's more transparency. Unless you're a land zone attorney, I don't think anybody will understand what ordinance 11A is, because it's just, maybe put in the address, Park Drive or the Three Friends Park, just make it more transparent. A lot of people talk about government can be more transparent. This is an example, hoping the future of this project, it just is more like easier for the surrounding community. Okay, a more important item I want to talk about, I always attend the citizen board meeting for the Blanche Warren Center. I don't know if you're aware of Blanche Warren Center. They're part of Miami-Dade Community Human Action Department. They have a budget over $100 million. There's only 9 of them in Dade County, and they're only placed in the areas that are low income, high need. Well, they're gonna move the center from over here, Palm Avenue and First Street, to the Flamingo Plaza. Why that's a bad move? Because Flamingo Plaza borders Brownsville, so they're gonna start servicing Brownsville and Hialeah. But Brownsville already had the Caleb Center. Caleb Center is supposed to service. So there's a bigger issue here. 15 years ago, we had an employee there. The last employee that worked there was Arnie Alonso. After him, we've had no city employee. We have little oversight. I've talked to Renee Garcia, Commissioner Garcia, a couple of times about this. That's not his jurisdiction. It was Rebecca Sosa. Now it's Kevin Marrero. I know I'm going fast here. Have a minute left. And the newest assistant deputy director, her name is Christina Cecily. I think that she is gonna look into it, take action, because they give out grants like $100,000, $400,000, $300,000, but we really have no oversight. And they don't allow us to be on the board because they never have a quorum. And the reason they don't have a quorum is because they don't follow their guidelines. They don't want a quorum. They don't want, input from the Hialeah. I was able to speak to Mark Perez about this. I just hope this is a more important issue because there's so much more they could do for the residents. They're supposed to provide like housing, immigration service, computer training, elderly, help people with their homes. And the last meeting I went to, the only thing they had available for the Hialeah residents was helping them with a light bill. So there is a huge, we pay county taxes. They're not doing us a favor. I don't know what percentage of our tax dollar goes to Miami-Dade County. So they're not doing us a favor. I just hope between the city council, the mayor's office, Rebecca Sosa's office, I hope you really look into it. And if I made any mistakes about the ordinance of that land swap deal, and I hope you look into it, I hope I'm corrected. Thank you, and it's been nice to be here.
Thank
Any
you.
question?
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
Hey, Mayor, the Caleb Center, is that an FQHC? Is that a federally qualified health clinic, or what's the Caleb Center?
The best I know of the Caleb Center, it's it's kind of like a government annex building. Commissioner of that district had her office when I was serving with her. There may be a library there also.
Okay.
I'm sorry? Courthouse, yeah, adjacent to it. It seems
Okay.
like a government center was the best way I could describe it.
Okay.
The Hialeah Community Services in that center. It's a huge complex. They also have a court.
And when you said it was in the Blanche Morton project?
Well,
And-
our center is over here on Palm Avenue and First Avenue. They want to move it to Flamingo Plaza. And the reason they're doing that, I'm not trying to exaggerate, there's very little oversight with Hialeah residents. Commissioner Rebecca Sosa, which she was in charge, I think she was at the end of her term, and I know she was overcoming cancer, and I don't blame her, it was her health. But there should be more oversight of why aren't we getting our percentage? There's only 9 of those centers in Miami-Dade County.
So who would be in charge of that? Would be
Right
Kevin?
now,
Cabrera?
Kevin Cabrera, but the residents that they serve is mostly Renee Garcia. They're the funding, but they're Hialeah residents, so hopefully the Hialeah can get involved with that too. It was very vibrant. When I worked for Parks and Recreation, they would do a lot for Hialeah residents, a lot. And we always had a staff there.
Yeah.
But we don't have staff anymore.
We
Thanks for
we
listening
could
to me.
speak, we could speak to the commissioner with regards to future plans of Blanche Morton.
Okay, moving on. Any more comments and questions? Do we have anybody online? All right.
No.
Okay, so moving on to announcements of amendments and corrections to the agenda.
Consent items T and U have been added to today's agenda.
Yes, go ahead.
Good evening, my name is Sebastian Hurtado and good evening, my name is Sebastian Hurtado and I want to address a problem about drainage.
We need your address also for the record, please.
My address 795 West 68th Street.
Thank you. Go ahead.
In many areas in Hialeah, when it rains, streets become they start flooding easily. And it creates I think that it creates a big safety risk for drivers because just a few inches of rain can start to cause engine damage and which is unfavorable for the people of our city. At 6 inches, the cars can start to lose control and which causes accidents and cars begin to stall as well, which can increase traffic and raise insurance costs even more. It also affects local businesses because it affects the access of their consumers to the businesses because bigger cars are the only ones that are able to go over some flooded streets. Bicycles can face problems too, as a lot of people in Hialeah use bicycles as their mode of transportation, and that creates a safety risk for them as well. Pedestrians can also face this problem, as some people have to take the bus or they have to walk home because they cannot afford to take buses and do not have their own cars. Pedestrians can get foot infections and their shoes can get damaged as well. With improved drainage, many of these problems can be minimized exponentially, but it will only become a bigger challenge if nothing is done about this issue in a prompt manner. Thank you for your time, Hialeah Council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Okay.
Are you looking for a job?
Do you wanna-
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I didn't see.
I'm-
Hi, name and address for the record.
I don't know if he needs an address if he's
Oh,
underage, you know?
well,
Think so,
does
Madam
he-
Clerk? Does he?
It's fine. You don't need it.
Oh, okay.
Good evening, my name is Ernest, and I came to address a problem about light posts in the city of Hialeah. There's a bunch of light posts in the city of Hialeah that are broken or doesn't work, or like cables are not working. And it can cause a big problem because when people go back to their houses, home, apartments during the night after work, they can trip or fall, or they can they can perish. And about sidewalks, a lot of sidewalks around the city of Florida of Hialeah are like broken or there's none, and there's a lot of potholes around the city of Florida, and that's all. Thank you.
Can I have your last name?
Ernest Chum.
Chum?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So if I might, just to be able to answer both of the issues that were brought up, the budget that we're going to be bringing you addresses drainage, street repair, sidewalk repairs, something that we're aware of, something that was neglected, I think, for a long, long time. It does take a lot of money, though, and I think it's extremely important. But you both raise very interesting arguments about not doing anything also could cost us money in liability, somebody hurting themselves, obviously, if they trip or heaven forbid, get into an accident product of a flood. Cities come a long way from where it used to be as far as flooding is concerned. The city has been investing over the last probably good 30 years, if not more, in trying to mitigate issues of flooding. There's still more to do, and we're going to be bringing a budget that'll address in some cases and puts a lot of investment in this area because it's needed. It's needed. Okay, so we appreciate and I'd ask both of you if you could share with one of my guys from my office a way of communicating with you, so that when we start embarking on some of these projects, we keep you up to speed on what we're doing. Okay, and I appreciate you both coming to the city council meeting and sharing your concerns.
Okay, so moving on to board appointments.
Proposed resolution appointing Roberto Carmona to the Youth Advisory Committee for a 2-year term ending on August 21st, 2025. Ma'am, Councilmember Calvo in his absence has asked that I read the following for the board's consideration. Roberto Carmona is an outstanding junior, top of his class at Hialeah Miami Lakes Senior High School. He migrated from Cuba 2 years ago, and in that time, he has achieved many great things in our community. He has served as a volunteer for different organizations, is part of his school student government, and founded his own student-led organization called the Hispanic Learning League. Overall, Roberto would be a tremendous asset to the Hialeah Youth Advisory Board.
Okay. Oh, and he's here.
First of all, thank you to the Hialeah City Council for recognizing me, and especially thank you to Council Member Brian Calvo for extending this opportunity to me and be part of the Hialeah Youth Advisory Board. As a recently immigrated student who came from Cuba 2 years ago, I can attest to the importance of the city of Hialeah to the Cuban diaspora in general, and to many of the young Cuban immigrants that are now being introduced to our community and assimilating to the city of Hialeah. And I cannot be more grateful to be more involved in this wonderful city that has been a home for me in the past 2 years as I have learned to be free. Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Roberto.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion.
So we have a motion for Councilmember Gonzalez Munoz, and we have a second from Councilmember Tundidor. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Tundidor,
Yes.
Mr. Zogby, Ms. Casa Munoz,
Yes, sorry.
Ms. Garcia Robes.
I was
Yes.
looking for her.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
Congratulations. Okay, moving on to consent agenda.
Great job.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, members of the council. I would like to have item U here outside of the consent agenda, Ms. Possible, if you don't mind.
Any other councilman, I mean, I'm sorry, any council member want to pull out an item?
F.
Anyone else?
Motion, otherwise. Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Zogby, and we have a second by Councilmember Tundidor. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Tundidor,
Yes.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Ms. Casa Munoz,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes.
Yes.
Motion carries. The consent agenda has passed except items F and U.
Okay, item F.
Request permission to increase purchase order number 2023-240 issued to MV Contract Transportation Incorporated to provide transportation services for the operation of buses for the city of Hialeah through the end of fiscal year 2023 by an additional amount of $316,681.26 for a new total expense amount not to exceed $1,519,719.26. On June 13th, 2023, the City Council approved resolution number 2023-062, thereby authorizing the city to enter into a third amendment to municipal services agreement between the city of Hialeah and MV Contract Transportation Incorporated, effective through September 30th, 2024. The funding for this expenditure is to be withdrawn against the CITT surtax Hialeah Circulator Fund, contractual services account number 1303220544340.
Councilmember.
Yeah. A who to MV
Transportation.
MV Transportation. They're the ones that manage the buses for us.
They're the subcontractor that drives the fixed route for our transit system.
For the transit, but the buses.
Yes,
Okay, how long have we had this how long have we had this vendor for this contract?
since 2011.
Since 2011?
So I think 12 years.
Okay. And then, so this contract's it's up next year in 24?
No, we have, right. No, we have an extension for next year, a third amendment, which already passed. They're going to keep the same prices as this year, which you guys already approved.
Yeah.
After that, we'll have to go to an RFP.
Okay, so in 24, then we go through an RFP?
Yes.
Okay, one of that, yeah, that was my good. So I mean, and have we been keeping track of what market rate is nowadays?
Yes, the market rate, other cities are paying $60, $70. We're paying $34.72 an hour.
Yeah.
For the drivers and $17,582 for the office personnel, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're getting a good deal.
Yes,
Yeah, according
have
to
a
what's
good
in the
deal.
market, right?
correct. I think the next market, we did an adjustment maybe a year ago,
Mhm.
as we saw that the transportation problem might be existing.
Right.
Drivers were getting scarce. I think Miami-Dade County were offering like $5,000 signing bonus.
Yeah.
We upped MV's contract a little bit, so our drivers won't leave us. And with that adjustment that we did, all our drivers are with us. We've only had one driver that left.
And with that adjustment, we're still below the market.
We are still below the market.
Yeah, no, it's a good deal. No, I just want to make sure that folks hear that, right?
Right.
You know, when we're doing these things, because, you know, sometimes we might, you know, for example, you know, whether we waive some sort of solicitation or lo que sea, I think at the end of the day, you know, we do it for this reason, right?
Correct.
Because at the end of the day, we're still below market value,
Correct.
right? And we're getting the best return on the investment. So, no, I appreciate that. And have we identified other, you know, other vendors out in the market that might potentially also do a good job? And have we been keeping a track on that?
Yes, we do. We have other vendors that are local. Miami-Dade County uses, I think, is LMV or LMR is another transportation. MV has been our transportation system down here. They also do the city of Coral Gables.
MV does?
Yes.
Okay.
So, I mean, we're not the only ones that they service here. We
Yeah.
have other cities that they do. There's other vendors, as you see that the county has gone to subcontractors to see if they can do better routes like before.
Okay.
We've been with this fixed route for 20 years, 21 years.
Okay.
And out of 21, they've been with us for 12. So
Okay.
they're very reputable. Every time we get audited, every time we get reviewed by FDOT, everything has been,
Yeah.
you know, they meet the standards, they meet the
Okay,
quality
good.
is great. Complaints against the drivers are minimum.
Good. Okay.
We've been, you know, without service, our years of experience and our years on the road has speaks for itself. If we've been in for 21 years, that means we got great service.
Yeah. So we have a good deal on the rate and they're doing a good job.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, motion.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Councilmember Tundidor and a second by Councilmember Gonzalez Munoz. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz.
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes.
Yes.
Mr. Tumidor.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
Okay, moving on to item U.
Request permission to issue a special event permit to Santa Barbara Catholic Church located at 6801 West 30th Avenue, Hialeah, Florida, 33018, to host a church carnival with rides, concessions, sales, and bingo, expecting approximately 1,000 attendees from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. on Thursday, October 19, 2023, and Friday, October 20th, 2023, from 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. on Saturday, October 21st, 2023, and from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. on Sunday, October 22nd, 2023, in accordance with the requirements of the Hialeah Fire Department, the Hialeah Police Department, and Risk Management Department.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, Frank De La Paz with Saint Barbara Catholic Church, 6801 West 30th Avenue. First, I would like to thank Melissa and the rest of the staff of the city clerk for putting up with me for the last 24 hours on this matter. I need to clarify something that it was a mistake on my part. Sunday is going to be from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Even though, and I would like to clarify as to why. Sunday we get mass, we get church service. But since 8 o'clock, we will have tables with some of the art and craft vendors outside to utilize the traffic going to mass. And some people may consider that the festival is ongoing, even though it will be a very limited number of vendors, just when people come into mass and leave, and then so forth. And the festivities start after the last mass on sundown. But I feel that we should clarify that and correct the records with the times from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. on Sunday.
Okay.
Any questions?
Motion.
So do we want to amend this or what do we?
Well, he's correcting motion with the amendment
Okay.
from 8 a.m. if that's okay.
Yeah, second.
Okay, so we have a motion with amendment by Councilmember Casas Munoz, and we have a second by Councilmember Tundidor. Please call the roll.
Mr. Tumidor,
Yes.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz.
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
And obviously, you all be welcome at the festival. Expect to see some of you there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to administrative items.
Item 11A, first reading of proposed ordinance authorizing the exchange of city real property pursuant to section 1.04 subsection B1 of the city charter, described as a portion of lot 6 and 8, block 3 of the 36th Street lawns, according to Plat Book 24 at page 36 of the Public Records of Miami-Dade County, Florida, containing approximately 3,222 square feet in size, as more particularly described in Exhibit B of the land exchange agreement for real property owned by Booz Development Group Incorporated, described as Lot 4 and the west 15 feet of Lot 3, Block 3, 36th Street lawns, according to Plat Book at page 38 of the Public Records of Miami-Dade County, Florida, containing approximately 5,810 square feet in size, as more particularly described in Exhibit A of the land exchange agreement, and further authorizing the mayor and the city clerk as attesting witness on behalf of the city to execute a land exchange agreement in substantial conformity with the agreement attached hereto and made a part hereof as attachment 1, and to execute all other necessary documents for the exchange of the property, providing for a severability clause and providing for an effective date.
Okay, this item is on first reading. Do we have any council discussion?
Through the chair.
You recognize?
Yeah, I just, I wanted to mention, is this what property is this exactly? Is this the motel, the old motel?
There's if I'm not mistaken, there's a motel there and there's also a mechanic shop
Yeah.
that's right on the corner.
And but yeah, but this is the swap is in result of the new ownership of the motel.
Yeah, it's a whole remake of
Yeah.
of the corner in
Yeah.
order to be able to accomplish it. And by the way, the conversation that we've been having is to make sure that whatever goes there and what is going to go there is a Navarro pharmacy. We want it to be iconic in nature, so you're going into the city of Hialeah,
Yeah.
right? So in order to be able to accomplish everything that we needed to do, and there was a lot of moving parts because FDOT was also part of this conversation. We had to do some land swapping in order to accommodate
Yeah.
the ingress, and also to make it work for the project to make it work. So this is
Yeah.
a product of, I'd say, a couple of months
Yeah.
of conversations and negotiations.
Mayor, I'll tell you that this property in particular where the Navarro's gonna go is where there was a motel there, at Palacio. And I could tell you a couple of years ago when we passed probably one of the strictest regulations on motels in the state of Florida. We did a surveillance on 3 motels, and this motel in particular, Palacio, was the worst motel in all of the city of Hialeah, had the greatest volume of crime and 911 calls. And I could tell you when I found out that they were being purchased to create a Navarro, it really brought a lot of hope, and it showed me that we're really cleaning up that main artery, right, of Hialeah. So I'm all for it, and I think this is a great big deal for one of the largest arteries in the city of Hialeah, and I look forward to see what comes out of it. So I motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Tundidor, and we have a second by Councilmember Casas Munoz. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Casal Munoz,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes.
Yes.
Mr. Tumidor.
Yes.
Mr. Zogby.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for September 12th, 2023.
Okay, moving on to 11B.
First reading of proposed ordinance amending chapter 70 entitled Retirement and Pension, Article 4, Employees General Retirement System, Division 2, entitled Board of Trustees, Division 3, entitled Disability in the Line of Duty Benefits, and Division 5, entitled Benefits, implementing the changes to the retirement system and disability benefits contained in the 2022 through 2025 collective bargaining agreement between the city and IAFF for firefighter members. In particular, creating a new section 70-70 entitled Disability Benefits for Firefighter Members and Members Not Included in Any Bargaining Unit on and after effective date of this ordinance, revising section 70-131 entitled Appointment and Terms, and section 70-238 entitled Service Retirement Allowance, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for penalties hereof, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for an interpretation and savings clause, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, this item is also on first reading. Do we have any council discussion?
Motion.
We have a motion by Council Member
Through
Tundidor.
the chair,
Yes, go ahead, you recognize.
can I get some clarification exactly what is what we have added on to this, or is it just because of the contract that we finalized that this is part of the contract?
This is all part of the contract.
Okay,
This is all
Yeah.
part of contract with the fire union.
okay,
Yeah, it's on the back.
These are all the changes.
okay, thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion by Councilmember Tundidor and we have a second by Councilmember Casals Munoz. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Casal Munoz,
Mhm.
Yes,
Ms. Garcia Robes.
Yes.
Mr. Tundidor,
Yes.
Mr. Zogby.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for September 12th, 2023.
Okay, moving on to item 11C.
First reading of proposed ordinance amending the Hialeah Code of Ordinances, Chapter 98 entitled Zoning, amending Section 98-2200, parking commercial vehicles, recreational vehicles, boats, or vessels on property zoned residential, regulating the placement and number of recreational vehicles, vessels, and boats permitted on property zoned residential, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date.
This item is also on first reading. Any council discussion?
Is
Oh,
there a, is there a video, is there a presentation or something? No presentation? Presentation. And, oh, we had a presentation. Mayor, this is, I'm glad we're taking up this item. I could tell you that, in the last couple of town halls that we've had, that you've been there, your team's been there, and we've heard many complaints, right? We've heard, we never heard anything about 911 issues. We never heard anything about any water. What we heard have been commercial vehicles. What we heard have been issues with trailers, with RVs, and so it's been very, very consistent in different parts of the city that we've had these forums. And so something needs to happen, right? We need to, I believe that there needs to be some sort of language, some sort of teeth, right? That enables the city to act on this, right? Because I believe if we don't act on the issue, I'm not saying having an RV is an issue, right? My family's real big into camping, and my in-laws have campers and trailers and all that too. And I'm afraid to get one nowadays, but we're a family of outdoors. And so it's not a crime to have that. But what we want to make sure is that we don't find people abusing what was meant to have a good time, right? And we have a lot of friends that have had, or that have these RVs and these motorhomes, and they use it for the right purpose, right? So, Mayor, I'd like to have a discussion, right? And kind of, and we've spoken about this, to have different workshops and to really hear the community and the council to see what they have to say about this language. But I think nevertheless, it's loud and clear, right? That this has become an issue. Folks are illegally attaching to the sewer and running extension cords for the electrical and all that, which creates not just a public safety issue for the homeowner itself, but the residents around it, right? And again, I'm glad we're taking this up now.
Through the chair.
You're recognized.
Thank you.
I agree with Councilman Tundido. We've all spoken to you. We all got a chance to speak to you about that. We all got a chance to speak to you about that. We all got the heads up since June, when it was first presented as a point of discussion to our P and Z. And thank you, Mayor, for listening to all of us and to the residents. We do need this. We do need this. So we do have to continue the discussion. Right now, it's very broad. I get it. And let's see what we can do to trim it and tailor it so that, like Councilman Tundido said, so that the innocents don't pay for the guilty, right? Some people actually use them for recreational purposes, but it has been abused of. We all know that. Thank you, Mayor. And I support you on this. So we're gonna continue with this. Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know if the other council members want to add anything first.
Through the chair?
You're recognized.
It's okay. What are you, sleep like Vivian? Wake up.
I am.
I agree that there's a huge issue with abuse. We have rules and regulations now that we have on the books. And one of the things that we have to focus on is enforcement. And we haven't been. And I think that it's a great idea. I think that it's very broad. I think that we have to look at the size, exactly what all the details are, because we're not going to be able to comply with everything. Every house cannot comply with everything that they have. And boats, 23 feet, is a pretty small boat compared to Hialeah. Hialeah is the city that has the most boats per capita in Miami-Dade County, which is like beyond, but I that was said years ago, and it's repeated over and over. But we do have a lot of people that have boats. We do have a lot of people that have motor homes. When we start putting sizes, when we start saying, I love the decal, the idea of the decal, but when we start putting sizes, are we going to go and measure? How large is it? We going to measure if it's 3 feet away? I think the details are, we could do something a little more broad.
Sure.
Not so many details, because we're not going to be able to comply with all these details. We're not going to be able to go to all these properties and check, are you 3 feet away? Do you have, one RV, one boat, one commercial vehicle, what fits in your property? So I think I love the idea, and you start big to then figure out, where it fits best. And I appreciate bringing this up to us, and I appreciate that we're going to have, conversations going forward. I just think that we have to, whenever we make any rules and regulations in the city, we have to think of the enforcement. Are we going to be able to enforce all these rules and regulations? Is it okay for somebody to break one little rule, but not the other? That type of thing. And I just think that we should be watchful on that. But other than that, I love the fact that we're bringing it back and that we're fixing this, we're amending this that has been on the books for a while, and we're curtailing it to what we need to right now. That was it.
I agree with all of you. And I also, I know that a lot of residents also don't have, as you were saying, maybe they don't have the space to park it in the backyard where, so I mean, it does need to be fixed or, shortened and amended in many different ways.
Through the chair?
Yes.
Now that you said that, what do we do with people that already exist with the RVs, the 30-foot RV, the 40-foot RV? Are they, would they be grandfathered in?
Yeah, and I think that's why we have this discussion.
Yeah,
right?
no,
I
of
mean,
course. That's why I'm
there's
asking.
many ways to look at this, whether it's, maybe an administrative variance in the future or, or whatever the case is. I think that's a valid point, but for example, so I'll put another example, right? I mean, the semi trucks, right? I mean, should houses have semi trucks parked in front of their houses?
What is the definition of a semi truck? Because I spent all day figuring out all these definitions with
Like a big rig, that the ones that have the trailers.
no, they're not.
Without the trailer, right?
They're not.
It's not without
They're
without
not.
trailer. So
Look them up.
yeah, so regardless, so commercial vehicles, right? So,
Right.
so commercial vehicles in general, I mean, it's the same thing you can say, well, I mean, should folks have it parked in front of their house, right? Or in their backyard or in their side? And, I believe that the answer should be no, right? And I go off of what residents have told me, right? Hey, I've worked for 40 years here. I've paid my house off. Me ahorro lo kilito. I save enough money to make sure that I keep my house nice and beautiful. But then I sit in the backyard and I see this huge semi truck in the back, right? And then you knock on that neighbor's door and they tell you, well, you know what? I'm having issues in the industry, right? The routes are bad, right? Or whatever the case is, and I can't afford, I can't afford the money to put it in storage or in a yard. Well, but you knew what you were getting into, right? When you got into that business, right? You knew that you bought a truck, right? And you did the routes and you had to find a place to store it to pay it just the same way everybody else does, right? And so now you have some folks that say, well, no, I'm going to do what I want and I'm going to park it in front of my house while everybody else pays for a yard. And so those are things that we have to decide as a council, right? Do we want to say, okay, let's be strict and let's prioritize the quality of life, or do we want to make exceptions? I mean, and again, that's the beauty of having this conversation. Okay, I know a lot of people in Hialeah that told me the same thing. Hey, I bought this trailer according to what the code said at the time, right? So now how are we going to change it up on them?
Right.
And I agree. There needs to be, maybe there's certain criteria that we establish that makes them eligible for an administrative variance or some sort of, I don't know, but
Something.
yeah,
Something, right. We'll figure it out. That's
Yeah.
what we're doing here.
The last
Right.
thing I want, and Councilwoman, I think you agree with me, we both live in the same place, right? In the same
Well,
area.
no, not in the
Not in the same place.
We live
Yes.
near each other,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
in the
yeah,
same
yeah.
place, but thank you for
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So,
100 years old and now we're living together.
So, but I think, there is zoning, right, for trailer parks, right? There is zoning for all types of residential approaches. And so what I would hate that in a single family home residential area, organically, it starts to become a trailer park, right? I would hate that my block, right, where my kids run and play and where my wife walks every single day, that little by little, each house says, well, you know what, man, I'm gonna put a trailer home in front of my house. And so it's no longer a beautiful single family home area. Now it's something that you didn't pay for, right? And it becomes a trailer park. So those are things that we have to really gauge to make sure that doesn't happen.
And I agree completely.
Yeah.
And I agree completely. And trust me, I call often about trailer park, semi-trailer trucks,
Mhm.
cargo trucks, because I know the definitions now and we're saying them incorrectly. But as what we understand as semi-trucks, I don't think they should be in the house. I don't think that the tractor should be there, and I don't think that the trailer should be there. But when you do, the circumstances happen to everybody. People lose their jobs. In the city, in the county, we're taking away the ability for people to park their trucks in areas. We don't have those parking areas anymore. We took them out from the county. Actually now where county line is, they're doing parking for trailers, parking for tractor trailers, semis, trucks, RVs, all those things that we have in this ordinance, they're doing it there. But we used to park them in where the police station was. They used to have the parking that was used in that area. We took it out of there. We had it in Hialeah Gardens. We took it out of there. We had it on the annex area, and we took out, part of where the trucks are. And now trucks don't have where to park. So you leave the trailer in a business and then you park your vehicle, the tractor part of it, in your property. I don't agree with that, but you're saying, well, they knew that they were going to have this. Nobody ever expected to have your yard where you would park your trucks removed. Everything on 74th Street, all those junkyards, in the back of all those junkyards, they had tractor trailers where they would park. That's all gone now. So it does cause an issue. And I'm not saying to park trailers, trust me. I'm not saying that. I was talking to the mayor earlier, and there's a street that I go down every day, and there's 2 18-wheeler tractor trailers parked in front of the house and on the side of the house. And that frustrates me. That frustrates me. But when you knock on the door and you speak to the people, they say, where do I park it? I have nowhere to park it. There's no, and it's not, I don't have the money to pay. I can't find a place that's empty in order for me to put them there. So that's another issue completely. That's another issue completely. But I don't think that you should have 2 or 3 trailers in the back, and I don't think that they should be rented out. But we have rules and regulations, and again, it's an enforcement issue. It's an enforcement issue. Whatever we do going forward, we have to make sure that it's something that we could enforce. We could actually enforce equally for every situation. That's what I want to make sure.
I think, I mean, I saw too many changes on this ordinance. If the whole issue is just people renting out the trailers, then what we have to do is enforce that a little more. Make sure they're not rented out, make sure they're not connected, because regardless, even if you pass this ordinance like this, it's like Councilmember Casas Munoz was saying, how are we gonna enforce it regardless? So I think we should focus more on that. Who's renting out a trailer? You know, I mean, I don't know how we would do that here, but if that's the main focus, that's what we should focus on.
Right. So I think, you know.
I'm not shutting it down, on the contrary.
No, I
I'm
know
glad
you're
that
not.
we're talking about
No,
that.
I know.
Absolutely.
No, absolutely no.
Yeah.
And you know, commercial vehicles, I mean, it's against the code, but we could talk about that some more time.
Actually, it's
Yeah,
not.
What-
well, no,
so-
I know people that have gotten, they've gotten fined for having a commercial vehicle outside their house or parked in the driveway. So it is. You're not supposed to have it parked.
But that's neither here or there. But I think Councilwoman Garcia Rose, in the ordinance, I believe there's a mechanism to enforce, right? And I think it's maybe Alex, I don't know if Alex is still here. So maybe he could explain it,
What was
but
that called?
I think the idea is to create a registry, right? And to register each one of these RVs. And then on a yearly basis to have some sort of review or inspection of these RVs to confirm, right, that they're in the right location and they're not illegally connected or et cetera, et cetera. So I think that would be the way to, as far as the language is written, to enforce it. Alex, is that?
Sure. So, I think, you know, we can take care of all the issues that you're talking about, including the size of the recreational vehicle, the size of the boat, all that. I think the important part of this ordinance is that it removes those vehicles from outside of the site of the property. You know, there's no longer a vehicle allowed in the backyard where you could have somebody living in the vehicle. We've put the vehicle on the side yards so that it's visible. It's easier for enforcement procedures. You know, if you have it in the backyard, you get into issues of Fourth Amendment issues going onto the property, things like that. What we've also included in the ordinance is, like Councilman Tundador said, the registration process. So the registration process ensures that the city is aware of the vehicle, and we have it right now so that you come in on a yearly basis. What you would do is show your proof of registration with the state, with the DMV, and based on that proof, you can get a registration through the city. It's right now we're not charging anything for it. We're in discussions of where it's going to be, where you get the registration from, more than likely the building department, but it would be so that you would be aware that these vehicles are on the property or the boats are on the property. At that point, it would be up to code enforcement to go around and, you know, ensure that there's nobody living in these RVs or these boats.
So if I get and I think it's a fantastic conversation and it needs to ongo, right? We need to, I think, identify, you know, what is the problem that we want to solve, right? And what we want to solve is the illegal renting
Correct.
of the RV or even boat, for people to sleep inside a boat, right? And this is all product of something that's beyond our control, right? Amount of people coming in, rents and what have you. So to me, I think give yourselves this, and you need to understand, I think we all understand this, is that if we don't act, this thing becomes part of the landscape, and then you'll never get it out. Okay. We live this with the efficiencies. The efficiencies is a reaction to an influx of people particularly coming right out of the Mariel boat lift and families turning garages into apartments that became then, when they left, now I'm renting it to somebody else. And before you know it, you cannot walk it back, right?
Right.
And what I don't want us to be in a situation is that we are turning a blind eye to a practice that 4 or 5 years from now, you won't be able to remove it, okay?
Correct.
And I think there's a host of issues here that we need to address. And I don't, from the dais here, I can't tell you, how do we quantify the fact that residents are subsidizing their garbage, residents may be subsidizing their use of water, residents are subsidizing the fact that we're providing with police and fire services, and somebody's not paying for it, okay?
Correct.
Compounded by the fact that people are buying homes in Hialeah with no intention of living it.
That's right.
And then parking a trailer in there while they're renting that house after they've cut the house in 2 or 3 pieces, okay? All done without our approval, without our support. They're just, this is what's going on, right?
Right.
So the question ultimately is, okay, we do not want, it doesn't matter the size, we do not want you using a trailer, an RV, a camper for the rental purposes, right? We don't want that. Then the question that begs for us is, how do we enforce that? And is it at midnight, at 8 o'clock at night? Is it nighttime raids in a zone and all that? Because you could go during the day and the excuse is, well, I'm charging the battery because I'm going to take it out on the weekend. If there's obviously water sewer connected, is it visible from the fence? Do we have to go into the yard? Now that's a whole host of questions legally to gain permission, what have you. Things need to be worked out. But ultimately, if we ignore it, and we ignore it, not that we are, but if we are weak on this, you'll have this on top of us and you won't be able to get it away. And I want you all to understand, this is not just a Hialeah problem. It's a Westchester problem. It's a Kendall problem.
Absolutely.
People are reacting to a housing situation and they're figuring out this is a great way to charge $100, $1,000 a month, $1,200 a month. It ends up paying for itself twice or 3 times, right? So what, I don't know if the next step is a workshop to table this item, come back with ideas so that Alex could work on this. I'll leave it to all of you to decide, but without a doubt, the problem is the illegal use of the campers being rented out. That's a problem. We need to address it. Having them parked in front of the house is, I don't think, something that should be acceptable. Having it parked in the back of the house, I don't think it should be acceptable. And we've all seen, as we've driven through the city, RVs parked in people's homes that are never going to leave that home, okay? They're parked in a way that are not, or they're embedded in a way
Right.
that you had to remove a fence in order to get it and then put the fence back. I don't think that's something that you take out, 2 or 3 months out of the year to go travel the United States. I don't think it's
Agreed.
right. So I guess my encouragement is, and request for direction is, how do you want to proceed with this? It's something that you need to proceed with. And if we need to put muscle first in enforcement and understand this may be in enforcement that is not pretty. Okay, this is going to people's homes at night. If the thing is lit, if it's open, if we see activity, because I don't know if you could do that during the day. And again, the legal will have to guide us. What if it's behind their fence line and their property line? Do we have the ability to open that gate and go in there? Do we take pictures, go over the fence and take pictures of it? And it's questions that we need some guidance on how to properly do this. And obviously we're going to have to put a media campaign behind it to let people know it's just not allowed. You have a camper for the purpose of going out and traveling the United States 2 or 3 times out of the year. God bless you. I'm down with that, right? But if you're going to do it for something else, then we need to be strong. And I think now's the time to do it. Allow it 4 or 5 more years, you'll have more and more of them. And then politically, you'll have a nightmare in trying to address it, which is what happened with the efficiencies. Any tweak, any type of attempt to address it, there was going to be a political cost to pay. I don't think we're there yet, because I don't think everybody in our city has it. I couldn't even put a number on how many. If they're not registered with DMV, folks, they're not using it then to travel.
Right.
Okay, plain and simple. And again, but how do we go out there and identify? Is that where we start? You know, do we start with a list? And I know Alexis has already provided me with a list of all those that are registered. So we know how many are registered. The number is not as big as you would think. It's the unregistered ones that I don't know. But let's not vacillate too much on this. Okay, we don't have to pass anything today, but I do think we need to continue to work on this. And I think we need to start thinking in terms of having something that we could all live with and defend. And I believe, based on conversations that I've had with community, and I know that some of you have had town hall meetings to get an input, this has come up. People are pointing to this and they're understanding this, and longtime residents of Hialeah know exactly what this leads to down the line. And you know, it's something that, you know, law-abiding residents that are not doing anything wrong with their properties, right, are paying the price in one way or another, whether it's garbage subsidy, whether it's, so I just think let's not
Sleep on it.
shy away from this, okay? You don't have to do anything today, but you need to do something soon. And we're gonna have to, if you want to peel boats out of it, fine. I understand in this city, this is a blue collar city. And as the councilwoman was pointing out, parking your commercial vehicle is become a premium. There is no land left. You know, developers are looking as far out as they can in the UDB. The commission is dealing, and the county commission is dealing with, I've had conversation with Commissioner Keone McGee. And this is a real problem, because this space of where these folks could park is becoming, you know, very hard to find. Forget about Hialeah. That ship sailed. There's nothing left. There's one on the west side of the city, and I've already had a developer reach out wanting to know how many units can he build there. Highest and best use, highest and best use. You know, that mantra that's in real estate all the time. So beyond that, this may take county involvement also, something more holistic, grander. We need to find a place where people could park their commercial vehicles. And it's a problem. It's a
Through the
problem.
chair,
You're recognized.
can we find out, I know that this happened a few years back. Can we find out by FPNL to see if the electricity went up because they're connecting these RVs permanently from their house? Is that something that we could find? I know, I don't know why I'm thinking that back in years ago, they would check FPNL to see if they had another family living there, another, like, did it spike up the garbage when they pick up? Can they see that there's a difference, that all of a sudden now there's more garbage?
Garbage, I think we could probably monitor a lot easier, right? We could kind of make an assessment.
Right,
Um,
because that,
but you know, it's I don't know what FPL would be available to share. I don't know what's protected, what's not. I don't know.
Right,
I don't know
right.
what
I
that
don't
is.
I don't know
Chair,
why I
We do
thought-
have context with FPL.
Through the chair, I'm not an expert on what would currently be able to be done about that, but several years ago, I believe FPNL took off the table the assistance they would give to narcotics, as far as, because narcotics would use FPNL figures to find out if your current had gone way up, it means you had a grow house. And then they
That's
kind
what
of
it was.
bowed out of that and said, we don't want to be dragged into court on this. You know, if you have a subpoena, yeah, but they stopped cooperating. So I don't know if they'll be too
Yeah, I think
keen on.
that's what I was thinking of,
Yeah, it was used for,
With that,
for
yeah.
drug suppression.
okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's complicated. It's complicated, but at the end of the day, don't try maybe to take too much of a bite out of the apple, and let's concentrate on the one thing that we know I think we could address, which is the illegal use of the RV.
Mhm.
And, you know, and I think whether we create a certification program, use people testify or something, sign an affidavit, I should say, that says, you know, this is for the purpose of taking it out and all that. And we all have, I have friends that have RVs parked at their house, but that's what they do. They take it out. You know, they don't rent it. They don't use it for
Right.
that kind of purpose. But you know, as you guys wish, but I do think we need to continue to work on this and, you know, give Alex some feedback. We could peel some stuff out of it if we don't want to tackle too
Right.
much, not to make it so overburdened that it collapses on its own. But this is, this is something that we just gotta deal with,
But I like the fact that we have so much in there that we could have the conversation about so
Mhm.
many different things. And then figure out if we're going to tackle something, where we're going to go with that. Zogby.
Mira,
through
I'm
the
sorry,
chair?
una mango bajito, okay?
Yeah,
If you have, if you're living in Pembroke Pines and you own a house in Hialeah and you got a trailer parked there, that should be fishy, right?
yeah.
And maybe we should, now the person may say, well, that's my house. I could park whatever I want in my house. But if they're not living in it, maybe that's low-lying fruit that we could address immediately. I don't know. Just at least maybe you send a message to folks, we're not gonna tolerate it.
So I was going to say something and now
Sorry.
I forgot. No, that's fine.
It was the council member Zogby. You were gonna tell him something.
Yeah, I know, but I forgot. Oh, I was gonna ask, since you're, or maybe the chief. Is it possible for us, if we see two RVs in the side, there's one in the corner of our house, apparently we live together. There's two RVs in the back. Can we knock on the door and ask can the city, somebody from the city, knock on the door and ask if you have a license or whatever it is, what is
It's registry.
the registration for the RVs, if you have it from the motor vehicle? Because RVs have to have registrations, right?
You could not ask, but you can force them to give you a registration or anything on the police side.
Through the
On
chair.
our side, that's more of a code issue
Yeah.
because it's private property.
Okay,
Enforcement, the one that handles everything from that sidewalk in, which is the private property, we handle all city swell areas.
so Tunidor, what do you think of if we have
Through-
code going out? You were gonna
Through
say
the chair.
something.
I was gonna say, I'm not a code compliance officer, but so we don't scare everybody in Hialeah. There is no way, even if we pass this ordinance, that we would go into a house at 10 o'clock at night, open the gate and go check. Like any other violation that code may see,
I don't
if
wanna
code
do that.
sees that you've added 1,000 square feet to your house and they say there's no permit here, what they do is they notice you and they tell you there's an obvious violation. You have to give us access. If not, then the fines start, then all the other. But no, code would never, not even code does that. They don't jump your fence and go check it. You are noticed
I
that we-
wasn't wanting anybody to
if-
jump the fence. I got
Right,
that.
and if we pass an ordinance like this, it would require the same thing. It would require that you be subject to inspection upon notice. Nobody's gonna raid your house and everything. It's upon notice. People would be noticed, hey, it looks a little bigger than what it should be. We can't find the registration. We have to inspect it. So we don't want to scare everybody into thinking that this is what's gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. I'm sure that wasn't the administration's intention.
So does everyone wish to table it then?
Guess what? So, all right, so, I mean, do we want to kick this can down I mean, is that what we're saying that we?
No,
want?
we're not kicking it.
No,
We're
we
just
just talk
tabling it.
about it.
Well, so why don't, so I think instead of tabling, I mean, what are some of the issues that we have with the actual language?
You want you want the
The whole
one by
truth,
one?
the whole truth and nothing but the whole
I
truth,
have them
right?
here.
I mean,
Have 'em here.
I mean, that's why we're having this discussion, is not to just talk about it and then table it for another 2 weeks and then, so like, what can we?
I think that the reason that we were thinking of tabling it is we've had the conversation. There are certain things that are on here that we've spoken about here. About, whether it's a commercial vehicle, whether it's not, what's a tractor trailer, so the definitions are a little vague on what it is, because here it says, for instance, that you could have a tractor. So what's a tractor to you? What's the definition of a tractor?
So I don't think this is in reference to commercial vehicles, Alex, correct? This is RVs, and RVs is a
But
separate
commercial
definition.
vehicles in here.
We've defined an RV as any of those vehicles. It's many cities use this definition, including the county, use that definition for recreational vehicle. We can definitely amend the definition of a recreational vehicle as you see fit. But as it stands, Ms. Casals Munoz is correct. A recreational vehicle can mean a semi-trailer, a truck, tractor, a combination, or any of the three.
I've been reading up on this for a bit.
Okay, yeah, so a recreational vehicle, that you're saying that's how the county defines it, also as
A lot of municipalities and the county define a recreational vehicle in this way.
okay.
That's
yeah,
where I
so-
pulled a lot of these,
Yeah, no, so that's, I think, one
Sure.
step of progress, right? Where I don't, I mean, but this is the whole point.
No, I get it.
Let's-
I get it. I
let's
get
not
it.
just table and not do anything about it. So I think that's one thing that we all agree on. Let's remove that, right? A recreational vehicle is, I mean, I thought I read something else that said that it's mainly, motor homes, a camper pop-up. I mean, so I think let's remove that.
definitely.
What else? I mean, are we okay with the size, or, I mean,
I'm not okay with the size
Yeah.
and this is, I'll tell you exactly, so we get an idea. There's 5 pages on this ordinance.
Mhm.
And I have probably about 50 comments on each definition and whatnot. And I think that what I'm thinking of doing for the tabling is to sit with Alex and go over, or sit with the law department and go over these items, because this, if we're gonna be here one by one, we could be on a discussion back and forth on it, instead of just getting clarification from the law department as to what was the intention when they wrote an automobile, truck, bus, trailer, semi-trailer, truck, tractor, semi-trailer, combination, or recreational unit primarily designated as temporary living quarters, which either has its own motive power or is mounted on or drawn by another vehicle.
Mhm.
So this alone brings up
right,
about
so
20
we
questions.
mentioned it right now. Anything commercial vehicle related, semi-truck related is something that we want excluded from the language.
I haven't included, if you see right above the recreational vehicle, you'll see commercial vehicles are defined.
Correct.
That hasn't changed. That's the way
So what are we talking about?
a commercial vehicle is
okay, so-
currently defined.
All right. But what Councilwoman Vivian Casalva is saying, that we're commingling commercial vehicles, semi-trucks and all that with recreational vehicles.
No, sir. The way the ordinance currently reads, a commercial vehicle is already defined. I made no amendment to the way a commercial vehicle is defined in our code. The only amendment is to the way a recreational vehicle is defined in our code. They don't intertwine.
Can I don't know if this is how you want to do legislation.
No.
Right. Okay, so my suggestion, we'll bring this back in 2 weeks. Okay, this is not gonna be kicked down the road. This is not gonna go into next year. We need to address this, and I think we need to address it sooner rather than later. So I'll give you a commitment. I'll bring it back. Okay, I'll bring it back. Ideally, I'd love us to be able to do a sunshine and workshop this thing. If that's permissible, if we could create that
Absolutely.
mechanism. So that we could address, because you're gonna dive into deeper water. And you're gonna be here about 4 or 5 hours, and then you're gonna get table the item, okay? So
Right.
that would be my suggestion,
Mhm.
but please be notified. We're gonna bring this back in 2 weeks, okay? And I, with the hope is, between that period, we're gonna do something, or it's either a sunshine meeting, executive, I don't know, whatever legally, the way we could do
We
it.
do a workshop and we advertise it.
Okay, a workshop and advertise it, so we could dive into this thing, okay? Because, and like I said, this is something that, let's not bite way too much on this, let's address the core issue,
Right.
okay?
Right.
The core issue is the illegal use of and let's, how do we make something a little bit tighter? And at that meeting, we should have our code folks here
Mhm.
to be able to speak to this, because we're gonna need to have a game plan on how to address this. And the point here is not to go after those that legally have their RVs, use it for recreational purposes and all that. We want to go after a specific person who's basically thumbing their nose
Mhm.
at the law and doing whatever they want, right? And that's something we won't want to permit, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so if that's acceptable,
Yeah, Mayor, no, I mean, if we have your commitment to bring it back.
I don't
in 2
know,
weeks, I just, the only thing is, number one, I don't want people to think that, oh yeah, we're gonna table this and then, the details are gonna be addressed away from the sunshine, right? That's number, but number two, you know, I want to make sure that we bring this back, right, with the changes that everyone has, because my fear, Mayor, is, and we've seen it before with other things, I mean, and in other branches of government where, you know, we start doing this and then, you know, at the next meeting, then wait a minute, there's other changes. And then so far, it's been a month and I've seen the number of RVs increase down my route from my house to the city. So I just don't want this to continue to escalate and snowball, but.
So I want you to change your route home, for a while. No, I do.
Move away from Vivian.
No, that I would have advised right off the bat. Okay, but I do see it too. And so we'll bring it back in 2 weeks, but we need to have that sunshine within that 2-week period.
Okay.
So that we could address these things in the sunshine. There's nothing here to hide, but I do think we need all input on this item. And, you know, we're missing 3 council members that should be at the table here, giving their input and their thoughts also. But we need to address this. Make no mistake about it, okay?
Okay, I move the table in 2 weeks.
Until the next meeting.
And I second, that's fine.
We have a
Thank you.
motion by Councilmember Tundidor to table the item to the next council meeting, and we have a second by Councilmember Zogby.
Ms. Garcia Robes?
Yes.
Mr. Tumidor?
Yes.
Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz?
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is tabled until September 12th, 2023.
Moving on to unfinished business. No unfinished business, new business.
Report to the City Council financial disclosure submittals for the year ending in 2022 pursuant to section 26-36 subsection D of the Hialeah Code. So in your backup documentation, you have a list of those board members and employees who haven't complied with financial disclosures.
Thank you.
Through the chair.
You're recognized.
If I may, Mayor, we've discussed this briefly with regards to the possibility of exploring criminal penalties within the code. And it was news to me. I think at this moment, our code only focuses on civil, on civil citations or whatever the case is, and really no criminal penalties, right? And this was brought up with a topic of conversation that I wanted to bring before the council on identifying ways on being able to mirror some of the ordinances that we've seen in other cities, like the city of Austin, the city of Orlando, where there's more teeth in combating certain encampments and different things of that nature. But to have our police department enforce some of those topics, there needs to be some teeth in the code, and so we can't do that if we don't have criminal penalties. Can we explore just what is the lift? What is the lift on incorporating criminal penalties? And
Yes, it's section 111 of the city code. We would have to amend it. It is permissible to amend it by city code or an ordinance. We can bring an ordinance forth, and it's permitted by chapter 162 of the Florida statutes.
okay, and it's not in the charter. It's not in our charter.
And it's not in their
Okay.
charters in the code, and
Okay.
it's permitted.
All right.
It's permitted. Miami Beach, they all have that language.
Okay.
And it's permitted by 162. You can make those type of provisions in our code. I was able to obtain a copy of what you're looking for in terms of the city of Miami Beach. They are taking it for first reading on September 13th. They actually have 3 different ordinances changing the city code, and I can certainly share that with you. But the first step before proceeding with that is changing our section of the code to provide for the criminal penalty.
Okay, perfect. Mayor, and if you don't mind, if I could work with us
Yeah, of
on
course,
that and
yeah.
understand, I'd like to understand what would be the lift then, right? Because I know if, I don't want to do something and, and is the juice really worth the squeeze, right? And then, we have to hire a prosecutor, right? A municipal prosecutor. I don't know what, so I'd like to explore that with you.
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Recognized?
Yeah, just 2 quick items. One is, many of you have approached me in different moments, and residents have done the same with regards to beautifying the city. In particular, there are entry points into our city that are being used for homeless encampments. There are entry points into our city that we share jurisdiction or overlap with the county, with the state, and really need addressing, need beautification. I think in the next meeting, we're gonna have somebody come forward and speak a little bit to a committee that's working. And one of the things I'd like to do is ask the vice chair to be more involved in this and to kind of lead this effort. But it's not just looking at entry points of the city. It's really an overlay of the city. Look at shopping centers that, don't ever comply with any kind of green space or investment that they committed to at one time. Many times on planning and zoning, you'll all approve plans that show these beautiful landscaping, and it never happens. And if it does, over the course of time, plants die, they're not replaced, nobody's paying attention to it. And, it's something that there's so much going on in our city. There's so much investment coming into our city. A lot of people are seeing it. We should, especially those that have made really have profited greatly from the city and its patrons and their customers, an investment in the city, a beautification of the city. And, we're going to work through budget to try to create as much space as we can to address these issues. But, when you drive into the city, you should be proud of where you're driving into and not make it look like a dump, and there's 2 or 3 areas that particularly for me are eyesores, and I really want to get after this. And it's going to take some time. So I've asked the vice chair. She's agreed to kind of do this and take this on. And so, we want to give her as much strength as possible and wind behind her sails so that she can go ahead and do an assessment of the city. Where are people doing some illegal dumping? We've had cases that come to the city and to my office where, folks that are investing in, let's say a warehouse area, they come to work the next day and they see a couch thrown out there in front, and very hard sometimes to grapple with this, but there are folks out there that want to see our city in good condition, clean condition. So it's something that I've asked her to do. And so I just wanted to make it public. And like I said, there's a working committee now, really of volunteers that goes just beyond going to pick up at a park. It's talk to business owners, talk to shopping center owners, see how we could improve that. So I wanted to lay all that on you guys. And then second thing is, we're going to have a ribbon cutting, and this is something we're particularly proud of. We're going to have our first dog park in Hialeah. Okay. And I know a lot of you have talked to me about this. Residents have talked to me. So on September the 9th, put this in your calendars, September the 9th at 10 a.m., we're going to do 2 ribbon cuttings at Goodlet Park. We're going to do a ribbon cutting for the dog park. And if you have your pets, bring them so that we could let them run loose a little bit. And, we'll have all the tools needed to make sure we clean up after them. Yeah, that's not a great job to do, but so bring your dogs. And then second of all, I know a lot of you have been talking a lot of smack about your pickleball game. Okay. So Hialeah is going to unveil a couple of pickleball courts. I don't know if any of you have any game or not. I don't profess to, but we're going to do that also. We've had a lot of requests. We've had people come forward to us. I heard the chief plays pickleball. It's rumored. I don't know if it's true or not, but I know that if I play, I'm in bed for about a month afterwards for back pain and leg pain and just embarrassment. But we're going to do that on that day. We want you all out there. Want to get the word out there, get the pets out in the dog park. And then we're also going to do the ribbon cutting at pickleball. This is great work from our parks folks. I'm impressed with what they're doing. This weekend, they've got the inner city basketball tournament going on. It's going to be this time in Miami Springs, but it's, our park kids are going to be out playing and competing, and other kids also, which is, again, the evolution of what we've talked about, how we want bring our parks back, bring it back with a lot of fanfare, create all the opportunities for our kids Baseball's also already on the docket. The Marlins have been involved with us creating baseball opportunities. So, there's so much going on. We had the meeting with AFA, which we'll be bringing back to you once we're done working through that, which is going to be literally maybe a game changer and a model for how we could create opportunities for our kids. And at the same time, have a lot of park improvements that we all want to see. So just a lot of things going on. I wanted to share it all with you, but it starts on September the 9th with ribbon cutting of the dog park and the pickleball court. Thank you.
The ribbon cutting for the dog park is at 10 and the pickleball at what time?
Right
After?
I'm gonna
Oh.
run over there real quick and somebody has
The
to stay with the
dogs.
dog.
With the dogs. With the dogs.
I can see all the chaos that happens, right? The chaos, the dog chasing the pickleball, it would be
There
just
you
chaotic. But anyways, should be a lot of fun that day, okay?
You're gonna take your dog?
I'm gonna take my dog. That day.
I'm not taking.
No.
Thank
Okay,
you, Madam
so
Chair.
we're moving on to zoning. No, from first reading. Oh, okay. Just wait for you to get out.
Porque tú te pusiste bravo conmigo. Yo no me puse.
I've been home.
We're gonna keep going with the meeting. Everyone that has an item in planning and zoning, please raise your hand to do the swearing in.
Las personas que quisieran prestar sus opiniones delante de esta junta, por favor, pónganse de pie y alcen la mano derecha.
Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help me God. If so, say I do.
Usted jura o afirma que el testimonio que va a dar será la verdad, toda la verdad y únicamente la verdad y que Dios sea su testigo. Por favor, diga que sí si la respuesta es afirmativa.
Let the record reflect that I have responded in the affirmative.
En el archivo público constará que todos han respondido afirmativamente.
Thank you. Okay, PZ1.
First reading of proposed ordinance rezoning property from R1 One Family District to TOD Transit Oriented Development District. Properties located at 901 East 28th Street, 915 East 28th Street, 923 East 28th Street, 929 East 28th Street, 941 East 28th Street, 961 East 28th Street, 971 East 28th Street, 981 East 28th Street, 991 East 28th Street, 910 East 29th Street, 920 East 29th Street, 930 East 29th Street, 940 East 29th Street, 950 East 29th Street, 960 East 29th Street, 976 East 29th Street, 990 East 29th Street, 998 East 29th Street, and 2861 East 9th Avenue, highly zoned R1, One Family District. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, so this item is on first reading. It's not open for public discussion. It is open for the dais.
Yeah.
Hi,
Through the chair.
you're
Yeah.
recognized.
So can you give me, Carlos, George, can you guys give me an update, just kind of what's going
Sure.
on
So
here?
this is
Name and address for the record,
yeah,
please.
Carlos Diaz with office at 333 South Second Avenue here with George Navarro. This is the latest project that we have in the transfer station TOD district. We have almost an entire city block here between East 9th Avenue and East 10th Avenue and 28th Street and 29th Street, just north of the Hialeah 28 and Metro Park 2 projects, which are recently approved by the council. This project is very similar to the other TOD projects. We have 8-story building, 580 units, about 2,000 square feet of retail. All of the retail is being placed along 10th Avenue because that's one of the primary corridors of the TOD district once it gets completed. So we're 3 blocks away from the station, the transfer station, and I think that's pretty much the project. We had a presentation on it. If you want to pull it up, you can see where the project is at in relation to the other TOD projects. But if the council
Please,
has
yeah,
any
if you
questions,
don't mind, let's,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you can see it here once the map comes up in context with the other TOD projects that we have in the area. That map right there, yeah. So we are the block in green. As you see, it's the entire block except those 2 lots, the one in the middle and the one in the northwest corner there. And then as you can see south, we've gone in order. So Metro Park is the first project just north of 25th Street. Then there's Metro Park 2 and Hialeah 28, and this is the latest project on the north side.
Okay. And so I know there's like a property there that isn't highlighted green. Is that you guys weren't able to acquire that?
We're still working on it, but we haven't been able to acquire it yet. As you may remember in Metro Park, we had to come like 5 different times because we kept acquiring property while we're going through the process. Sometimes it's a little bit hard, people don't want to sell for different reasons. Some of them are, I think some of what the mayor was talking about, some of these houses are single family name only, and they have more than one house in there. So it gets a little complicated.
So I think, and for the record, George Navarro, office at 333 Southeast Second Avenue. So, Councilman, we've been working to try to acquire that property for some time. It is going through a probate and a foreclosure proceeding, so we're involved. And our idea, as Carlos mentioned, is similar to what we did with the first project that was approved. That will eventually get integrated into this, possibly as open space, some sort of amenity space. We're waiting to hopefully conclude that process so we get acquired and add it to this project.
So no, I appreciate that, George. So I look and we've been having these discussions a lot lately, not just with staff, but with the residents, right? And Hialeah for a long time has been a very, very affordable place. And circumstances have changed, right? Throughout across the board. And so what happens is that, for a long time, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, a 1-1 was running for about $1,400, right, a month. And then, we approved, quote unquote, luxury housing, right? And then these folks, paid a premium, maybe not necessarily on the land for that deal, but on the construction, right, and the quality. And so that cost was passed down to the consumer, right? And so then next thing you know, the new standard now for a 1-1 is $2,200, $2,300 a piece, right? And so what happens is that when the new standard is set, the market rises, and that's fine, right? But because of the history of Hialeah and like the mayor mentioned a while ago, we're a hardworking community, right? A blue collar community, and so we have to be cognizant of that, right? Every so often, well, at least twice a week, my office gets a knock on the door and says, "Hey, I've been priced out," right, from an elderly folk. What do I do, right? And we approve units, and hey, these brand new units, they're getting picked up quick, right? And you're like, well, you're thinking, man, there's a supply and demand issue, right? And so we just got to do more units. But the reality of it is that the folks that live here today, right, they can't afford these new units, right? So these new units attract people from the outside, and that's fine, right? But I think at a minimum moving forward, and again, I've been a big believer, in everything that you guys have brought before us. Because I've always believed in the TOD, right? I've always believed in creating a community around mass transit, right? That, we want to offer, I campaigned on, hey, let's offer young professionals that live in downtown and in Brickell an alternative, right? You get a newer product for a lot less than what you'd be paying in Brickell or in downtown, right? And that was always my belief, and it still is today. But however, times have changed, right? And so the same folks that voted for me, right, are telling me, hey, man, I'm being priced out. So, it is what it is, right? Because we, as a city, what we want to do is we want to make sure that that we can continue funding the services, right? That we've been providing to our residents. And the way to do that is we need money, right? We need money, and then we're not going to raise taxes, right? And so we have to find different, alternatives, right? Different ways to generate that money to do what we have to do. We're a self-service city, right? We provide the most services out of any municipality in Miami-Dade County, right? But we're not the richest city either, right? So all that comes at a cost. So what I would want to do, and I don't know if Deborah's here. Is Deborah? Oh, I see. Deborah, I've had this conversation with the mayor, and we'll continue to do so. But I'd like to be able to mirror some of the things that the county is doing, right, to be able to address this crisis, right? Again, we can build 5,000 other units, right, in 2 years' time, but it's not going to address the issue, right? And so I know that the county has certain bonuses with respects to workforce housing, affordable housing, mandating a requirement, right? A set amount of units that are considered either workforce or affordable. And in result, they could probably even, provide more density, right? So I'd like for us to maybe work on something like that, maybe within the TOD districts, because I think at the end of the day today, in what we're dealing with at this moment, that's necessary, right? So we'll do that. And again, I've been a big fan of all these projects, NG, these folks here. But George, just out of curiosity, is there anything? And I know it's late in the third quarter right now, and I get it. But is there anything that you guys think at this moment you'd be able to help us out with regards to that topic?
So I'm going to ask my client right now, but we're obviously aware and conscious of the housing issues that are going on in Miami-Dade County. It's no surprise there is a affordability crisis going on. And obviously, one of the things that, as you mentioned, drive up the price of rents, which is a pass through to the tenant, is the cost of land acquisition. Obviously, construction costs are at an all-time high. And now we have a third factor that's contributing to how much it costs to build these units, which is the cost of insurance. But definitely, I think you mentioned the county programs. I think those have worked well at the county to entice and promote and encourage developers to incorporate more workforce housing and capping some of these rents. I'm going to just talk to my client really quickly to see if, in this case, I know that obviously, as you mentioned, it's probably not built into our pro forma, but we do want to help the city. I think we've had a great partnership in redeveloping this area. Me and Carlos have been fortunate enough to be involved in a lot of these projects, and we put a lot of units in this area, which hopefully, like you said, supply demand. When these, all these units come online, hopefully that will help to correct the course. But if the council could just give me a few minutes.
Sure. Yeah, please. Thank you. I just, and while they're discussing, it's something that we've seen a lot happening within the city. There's newer developments coming up. We've seen in the news with certain purchases that have been made on the west side of town, and again, those properties, we know that they paid a premium for it, right? And so at the end of the day, we understand that again, any new development on premium land is gonna end up resulting in very high costs, and that's fine. But if there's some sort of cover that we can provide, not just for this council, but for our residents, I think it goes a long way.
We have to analyze this very well, because workforce is 140% AMI, and the need that we have is lower than that. Though I have a housing study that was prepared last week, so we should get into that and don't set anything up.
No, Deborah,
right
but I think, because I don't want to, we don't want to penalize these folks. Again, they're already long in the process now. Again, any help is better than no help, right? This development is necessary. This is an area, again, that has been getting a lot of heat from residents, right? And that's why we're bringing this topic up. So I don't want to I don't want to change anything that they've already done thus far, right? Because it's not right. What I'm saying is, if there's something that they can do today, whatever it is, at least it lays out the blueprint, right? For us to work on the bigger language, right? The overall, change, right?
Yeah,
So-
and like you said, every little bit helps. Obviously, as Deborah mentioned, there's different percentages rates and whatever the city ultimately decides that they may want to implement from a policy perspective. The county has some programs where depending on the percentage of AMI that you address, there's certain bonuses that apply. There's certain impact fee credits that may be provided. There's a million ways to encourage people to provide workforce housing. One of the things that the workforce housing does, and it's not just on the amount that you could charge for the unit, is also the person that you could rent to has to fit within a certain range. So, obviously this was not built into a performance, but obviously, we understand the need. I think that we'd be willing to provide 5% of our units, come up to about, just rough math, I think it's like 29. Oh, this guy's like a calculator. 29 units. So 5% of our units to the workforce housing at the 140 AMI percentage, and definitely happy to see where this goes in the future as to kind of how projects are treated in the future with workforce housing, and if there's some encouragement to provide more. I think it's if you have it in the books, people will probably take advantage of it. But talking to my client, we would commit 5% of our units to workforce housing. We hope that helps address at least some of the concerns and help set some sort of precedent too.
No, absolutely. And like I said, it's a blueprint. It's a blueprint for the bigger picture. And I think to be able to have applicants that want to work with the city, that understand that there's a need, right, in our community, that goes a long way, right? So I appreciate that. How would that also, something like that, how would that work? Would there be like some sort of covenant or something that, I don't think the city should be in the property
Yeah,
management business. but-
Absolutely, it would be a covenant.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've actually worked on a similar, with the county, they have a similar way of covenant, so I could be happy to work with you, and we could obviously structure it particularly for the city, but we could work on that framework. And then between now and the time we come back, we could
Perfect.
have that ready.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, George.
That works.
I move.
I second them.
We have a motion by Councilmember Tundidor and we have a second by Councilmember Zogby.
Mr. Tumidor,
Yes.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz, Ms. Garcia Robes.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for September 12th, 2023.
Moving on to PZ2.
First reading of proposed ordinance rezoning property from R1 One Family District to TOD Transit Oriented Development District and granting a variance permit to allow a 0-foot setback required above ground floor for buildings fronting East 11th Avenue where a 10-foot setback is required. Contrary to Hialeah Code of Ordinances, section 98-1544, subsection C3. Property located at 1092 East 21st Street, Hialeah, zoned R1 One Family District, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date. Step back.
Okay, this item is on first reading, so it's not open for public discussion. Do any council members want to discuss it? I think it's.
Motion on this.
Where are you?
Oh, I got it.
Yeah.
Step back.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Zogby and we have a second by Councilmember Tundidor.
Mr. Tumidor,
Yes.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz.
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for September 12th, 2023.
Okay, moving on to PZ3.
First reading of proposed ordinance rezoning property from R1 One Family District to TOD Transit Oriented Development District and granting a variance permit to allow a 13-foot front setback on East 30th Street where a 17-foot built-to-line setback is required. All contrary to Hialeah Code of Ordinances, section 98-1544, subsection 3 III, property located at 3011 East 8th Avenue, Hialeah, zoned R1, One Family District, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, this item is also on first reading, not open for public discussion. We are missing one council member.
We have no quorum.
Do we have quorum?
No,
No.
we do not.
Okay.
She's the- Melissa, you want to try to see if she's in the hallway?
Yes. Yes. Okay, calm down.
Okay, so. we're
I'll
on
motion on
PZ3.
it.
BZ3.
Second.
So we have a motion by Councilmember Zogby and a second by
I
Councilmember Tondillo.
apologize. I thought I went back.
We couldn't do anything you
I
wanted.
am sorry. I'm sorry.
Mr. Tumidor,
Yes.
Mr. Zogby,
BZ3.
Yes.
Ms. Casa Munoz.
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes.
Yes,
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for September 12th, 2023.
Okay.
okay, moving on to PZ4.
First reading of proposed ordinance rezoning property from R1 One Family District to R2 1 and 2 Family Residential District and granting a variance permit to allow a duplex on a substandard lot with a frontage of 40 feet where 75 feet are required and an area of 4,000 square feet where 7,500 square feet are required, allowing a 5-foot setback, a 5-foot side setback where 7.5 feet are required and allowing a 22.92-foot front setback where 30 feet are required. All contrary to Hialeah Code of Ordinances, sections 98-544, 98-546. Property located at 4448 East 10th Avenue, Lot 28, Hialeah, zoned R1 One Family District. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
This item is on first reading. It's not open for public discussion.
Through the chair.
You're recognized.
Can I have some questions. I don't, is the owner here? Is the property owner here? You're here on his behalf. Can you, just to kind of get some clarification real quick, what was, at this moment, is there any like commercial vehicle parking there or?
Can you come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Melissa Rosen and my address is 5762 West Second Avenue.
Thank you.
So what is the property being used for at this moment?
There is currently a house on the property. The street across from the property is all commercial and industrial.
There's no house on the property. These are two lots. There is one address, but there are two lots. One lot is developed with a house. The other lot used to be the side yard of the house, and now has commercial vehicles parked not only inside, but there is also a fence, and they park also on the front of the property and back out into the street. That is what, if you go to Google now, that's what you will see. I pass by every day, and that is what is happening now there.
But there is a house on.
There is a house on the adjacent lot, not on the vacant lot. The vacant lot is used as a commercial parking lot illegally.
Okay, and so the change in question, is it for the lot with commercial vehicles or for the lot or for the other lot, the adjacent lot?
With the lot, for the lot with commercial vehicles. The lot with the house, that house will remain, and this other lot is where they want to develop the duplex.
Yeah, so it's.
Okay,
Lot 28 is the one that is vacant and is taxed as vacant, but is the
It's
one
here.
being used for the parking of the vehicles.
I think it's here where they have a.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
so Deborah, what would be for this size lot, because I'm looking at it now, it's a very narrow lot. It's 4,000 square. Do we have a minimum by any chance? Do we have like a minimum?
We have a minimum of 75 by 100. That's why they are asking here to allow a duplex on a substandard lot.
What is the total? I'm sorry, because I'm not good at math. The total number,
4,000 square feet, and the requirement is 7,500.
7,500?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also they are requesting a variance for the front setback and the side setbacks.
Okay, because I know the city of Miami has a very strict regulation on the minimum square foot for duplexes, for anything greater than a single family home. And I believe it's 5,000 for the city of Miami. And so what is this gonna look like?
Well, let me explain you. There is a precedent in the block where in 2017, we allowed 5 duplexes that were built at the same time. They're very nice. They look very nice. But the reality, I always say that is proof what is good and what is not good. And if you pass by, they park and they tandem park, they encroach into the sidewalk, they park commercial vehicles, they also park boats. So it hasn't been a good thing to allow these duplexes on these small lots. So this developer, the owner of this property said, well, since you approve that, you need to approve ours. But the reality is that when he came to the Planning and Zoning Board meeting, he brought a rendering, and the building looks so massive and so not compatible with the homes. It looks as if it is on another scale. So we talked with him, and I said, well, maybe we can offer you some solutions. So in my office, we did different renderings, and we showed him some other options where he can open it up and lighten up a little bit the massing of the property. And he didn't agree with that. He said, no, I want this wall as I built it, because there is in the other industrial properties across the street. So it looks as a fortress, and in reality is not very compatible with the neighborhood. And on top of that, it's a high building, and then they are asking for a reduced setback, so it will not look good with the existing single-family homes, one-story single-family home.
So there was a rendering that was presented in the August 9th meeting. That was just a design rendering. We took the recommendations that Deborah put forward, and to be honest, to have floor-to-ceiling windows in a property that faces east, with the increased temperatures, with everything, you're asking the tenants that are going to live there to then pay more for electricity. And I honestly would say that that's probably a decrease in quality of living. But we also agreed to the condition of requiring the tenants to not have commercial vehicles or tandem parking We agreed to that and we're waiting for the letter from Alex to sign that and make that official.
Through the chair, are you done? Just a quick question.
Go here.
You mentioned 5 other duplexes in the block, Deborah. What was the square footage on those lots?
It's the same size lot. You can go to Google and look them. They really look.
I can go to what?
You can go to Google and look
Right.
at those duplexes. They really look very nice. It is the same size lot, but they were 5 lots together, 5 duplexes, one next to the other. So it's a different situation.
So, yeah, okay, so that, yeah, so it's the same size lot. And do we have the renderings on? Do you have renderings on you?
Do you have the renderings
do
on
we have
probably
that?
the?
I don't have that.
The other duplexes.
You have the renderings there?
I think for the more technical questions, he's also on the Zoom, but he's unable to unmute himself. Right. These are the two big ones. Melissa.
I think your mic is off.
Yeah, I think it's, I think we need to be more consistent with these things, right? As far as, there's a minimum requirement, for duplexes, and we just need to be more consistent. That's not on you. That's on us, right? And so, just for the future, but I think this is more because there's already precedence, right? In that, you know, it changes things, but this is more, I guess, from an aesthetics perspective, right? And so, you know, your thoughts on the windows up on the second floor. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think that could be discussed in the design phase. Right now, we're just trying to do the rezoning. But again, with the windows facing east and you're looking out to the industrial area. When you were discussing the commercial vehicles, I've lived in the same neighborhood for 26 years. I've seen the trailers come up. There's about 5 in my neighborhood now. Actually, my parents' house was involved in an accident, a commercial vehicle that was going down the lane that was too small for them and knocked down the FPL post. So we understand that, and that's why we agreed to signing the conditions for the approval. But again, everything with the design, we can look into that during the design phase.
Israel's on?
Yes.
Israel. With a nice little Spanish tile there. Israel, can you hear me?
I think he's on mute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Israel, how are you?
Great, how you doing, Jesus Tundador?
Doing well, Mr. Pino. Israel, just again, I think you know, Councilman Zogby brought up a great point. You know, the city wants to be. I believe you know, we should be more consistent on certain things. And again, there's already precedence on your lot size and with what you're trying to do here. But again, we're always real big on having applicants work with the council, you know, I mean, as you just saw earlier, you know, that's a big project that we worked on now, and those folks that, you know, committed on certain things. But from an aesthetics perspective, Israel, I mean, would you consider, and again, we're just having a conversation here, but would you take into consideration at least some sort of a more open facade on the building that you're proposing?
Of course.
Okay,
Of course.
so Israel, and again, if you're okay with it, okay, if you're okay with it, we could go one way or the other. But would you be more open to perhaps by the next meeting be able to provide an updated design that we can commit to and agree on with regards to more openness on the facade of the building?
Well, I can obviously take out, say, the wall on the first story. But other than that, I mean, adding more windows to the front of the facade where it faces east, and you're showing, I mean, it's very hard situation on that street because you have 10th Avenue and you have industrial. A lot of the double parking is being carried out by the commercial, the industry across the street, because you have 2 lanes and you have one sidewalk is industrial, the other one is R1. So there's a lot of that going on there, but it is unsightly to look out your bedroom window and have industry there, you know, factories and mechanical shops. But I will definitely work into the design, say some facade to make it look better. I don't agree much with the windows, but yeah, we could definitely do something.
Yeah, because I think you know, I think the neighbors next door on the 1-story single family homes, right, would actually prefer, you know, the windows being towards the east side than on their backyard, right? So I want to try to avoid that as well. But look, I'm you know, I'm okay with you know, moving this along, but I would really hope to see by the next council meeting, Israel, if there's anything that you can do, at least up on the 2nd floor, right? On the 2nd floor, maybe add some bigger windows or some additional windows. I think on the south side of the facade, you have 2 little blocks. And then on the north side, it's pretty blank. I mean, if you could do something just a little bigger that you could commit to, I mean, I think that'll make the you know, our planner and zoning director happy and the council, if you don't mind.
No, I don't.
Okay. All right, motion.
We have a motion by Councilmember
Second.
Dondidor. We have a second by any, mini, miny, mo.
Vivian.
Councilmember Gonzalez Munoz.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes,
Yes.
Mr. Tumnidor.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for September 12th, 2023.
Moving on to PZ 5.
First reading of proposed ordinance approving a final plat of Midpoint Logistics, accepting all dedication of avenues, streets, roads, or other public ways, together with all existing and future planting of trees, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date. Property bounded on the north by West 112th Place, on the south by West 108th Street, on the east by Northwest 97th Street, and on the west by West 38th Avenue and Northwest 99th Avenue, Hialeah, Florida.
Okay, this item is on first reading. It's not
Motion.
open. Okay. We have a motion by Councilmember Zogby.
Second.
And we have a second by Councilmember Tumnidor.
Ms. Casal Munoz,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes.
Yes.
Mr. Tumnidor,
Yes.
Mr. Zogby.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for September 12th, 2023.
Okay, moving on to land use.
LU1, second reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance amending the future land use map from low-density residential and commercial to major institutions. Properties located at 374 East 12th Street, 398 East 12th Street, and 400 East 12th Street. Hialeah zoned R2, 1 and 2 family residential district, and B1 highly restricted retail district. repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, this item is on second reading. It's open for public discussion. Do we have anyone?
Motion.
And second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Tundidor and we have a second by Councilmember Zogby.
Ms. Casal Munoz?
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes?
Yes.
Mr. Tundidor?
Yes.
Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
Okay, LU two.
Second reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance amending the future land use map from low-density residential to transit-oriented development district. Property located at 1092 East 21st Street, Hialeah, zoned R1, one family district. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for a severability clause and providing for an effective date.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
The second reading.
Yeah, this item is on second reading and it's open for public discussion.
Second.
Let me say, who said, oh, you
Oh.
motion?
She did? Okay, yes,
Okay.
she did.
So we have a motion by Councilmember Casaus Munoz. We have a second by Councilmember Tundidor.
Ms. Garcia Robes?
Yes.
Mr. Tundidor?
Yes.
Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz?
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
Okay, LU three.
Second reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance amending the future land use map from low-density residential to transit-oriented development district. Property located at 3011 East 8th Avenue, Hialeah, zoned R1, one family district. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, this item is on second reading. It's open for public discussion.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Tundidor and we have a second by Councilmember Casaus Munoz.
Mr. Tundidor?
Yes.
Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz?
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes?
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
Thank you.
LU four.
First reading of proposed ordinance amending the future land use map from low-density residential to transit-oriented development district. Properties located at 901 East 28th Street, 915 East 28th Street, 923 East 28th Street, 929 East 28th Street, 941 East 28th Street, 961 East 28th Street, 971 East 28th Street, 981 East 28th Street, 991 East 28th Street, 910 East 29th Street, 920 East 29th Street, 930 East 29th Street, 940 East 29th Street, 950 East 29th Street, 960 East 29th Street, 976 East 29th Street, 990 East 29th Street, 998 East 29th Street, and 2861 East 9th Avenue, Hialeah, zoned R1, one family district. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, this item is on first reading. It's not open for public
And
discussion.
motion.
I have a ton of questions on this.
Sure you do.
We have a motion by Councilmember
Second.
Zogby and we have a second by Councilmember Tundidor.
Mr. Tundidor?
Yes.
Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz?
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes?
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for September 12th, 2023.
We're moving on to council discussion, if there's any. Okay, so does anyone motion to adjourn the meeting?
And motion.
Meeting adjourned.